installment of Mystery Unsolved, and the first thing you might notice is that I am live, and it's Friday. One reason for this is because I realized, why do a live video in the middle of the week at 4 o'clock? Doesn't make any sense to me. It kind of just, sort of hit me that, most people are probably working at that time, and it really just didn't make any bit of sense. So I figured I would move it up 2 days and even go 7 o'clock because most people right now are probably out of work, getting out of work, and are relaxing, checking on their phones, binge watching shows. So hopefully I will have more of a audience for this. Right now there's nobody watching, but then again, it's still early. So welcome to Mystery Unsolved. I am of course your host, Justin Bienvenue. Last week I did my special on the Cecil Hotel, and today we have we have also I wouldn't say special, but another mystery and solved treat for you as we will be looking into Mothman. The Mothman. I don't know if he prefers the in front of his name. But yes, we're going to be talking about Mothman. Now, if you don't know what Mothman is, just a quick little rundown for you before I check to my official notes. My notes are over here, but the video is so weird. My face looks sideways. I don't understand why my face looks sideways. I hope I don't look like this in person. God help me. Anyway, Mothman. So, basically, a quick rundown on who is Mothman. It is a folklore legend in West Virginia. It is a creature that apparently exists, or existed at one point in time, but no longer. And for years, since the 60s, late 60s, people of West Virginia, Point Pleasant to be exact, have become fascinated with Mothman. But wait, there's more. It's not just West Virginia, it's the entire United States. We as a society have become just caught up in the phenomena that is Mothman. But why is that? Like, when did this happen? Why did it happen? Well, that's what we're here to discuss. The Mothman. Does he exist? Does he not exist? What's going on? Like, what's the dealio? All right. For those who don't know, I am by no means a professional, so if you see me reverting over here, it's because I'm looking at my notes. I'm also going to talk over myself and try to block while my mom listens to Journey. She's blasting it in the kitchen. She loves her Journey. All right, Mothman. A West Virginia folklore creature, as I said, seen in Point Pleasant from November 15th, 1966 to December 15th, 1967. So it was seen for a whole year and then a month. Okay. It had glowing red eyes, large flying, and people claim to see it had large, like glowing red eyes, and a large flying man with 10-foot wings. This kind of makes me wish that I was better, at knowing inches and feet. I know 10 feet's pretty damn big, but 10 feet wings, like, that sounds pretty ridiculous. It was first reported in the Pleasant Register November 16th, the day after, and the title of the newspaper of the article was called "Couple Seen Man-Sized Bird Creature Something." So this couple, probably out on Lover's Lane in Point Pleasant in 1966, and she looks, "Look, honey, what is that? What's that in the distance?" And they probably saw glowing red eyes. I don't know. It's probably, oh no, and then it didn't look back. I mean, it wasn't stopping its gaze. They weren't stopping their gaze. They reported it. One thing I didn't write down, but I remember hearing, is that the first couple that reported it, they reported it to the police, and the police just kind of like, they didn't know how to take it, because you remember, this is the 60s. People probably, when people couldn't for UFOs, they probably just got hung up on. Probably the same thing. So this couple, I would imagine, really must have sold their story, because it isn't until later on that when other people call in saying that they saw it, that the police start taking it serious. So this couple really were the first people, and they really must have sold it, because otherwise they were the ones that got the front page article in the paper. Let's see. Fun fact I didn't know about. You ever wonder why it's called Mothman besides the fact that it looks like a moth? Like, why is it called Mothman? I sort of wondered this, but after a while, I just figured because the face of a moth, body of a man, that's enough to sell me. Unf but that's not the reason. Apparently, it was named after the Batman villain, Killer Moth. How about that? That's kinda cool. It was made into a book in 1975 called The Mothman Prophecies. If that sounds familiar, then you're probably remembering the 2002 film starring Richard Gere of the same name. In December 15th, 1967, so that was a year and a month to the day, the Silver Bridge collapsed, killing 46 people. Many connect the Mothman to the incident. Okay, so on December 15th, 1967, it was the last report of sightings of the Mothman early in the day. Later that day, the Silver Bridge, which is apparently a popular bridge in Point Pleasant, it collapsed. 46 people died. Many people in Point Pleasant connect and state to this day that the Mothman had a part in the bridge's collapse. Is that true? I don't know. It does seem kind of, you know, convenient. Could hold some weight there. All right, let's see what else we got. A Mothman sightings in Moscow uh, foreshadowed a 1999 apartment bombing. So apparently, Mothman not only transcends decades, but it's now 1999, and we're not even in the freaking United States anymore. We're in Moscow, Russia. And people are like calling up and they're saying, "We saw Mothman near apartment building after it blew up." Like, I don't even know where to begin with this. Again, I just read this off of an article I found, but like, why was Mothman in Russia? How do Russians know about Mothman? Like, when did that happen? And it was a part of an apartment bombing. So I guess the thing to take from this line is the fact that it happened after another disaster, is what basically is the idea. Apparently it's an occurrence over the last 50 years that any not natural disaster, but any like spontaneous disaster of like a bridge or a building collapsing or just ceasing to exist, Mothman is somewhere, laughing, pretty much, if you will. Between 1966 and 1967, at least 100 people saw Mothman. Some were too afraid to uh, to come forward. So between 1966 and 1967, over 100 people claimed to see Mothman. Now, I'm not calling them liars. I mean that's a high number. Population of Point Pleasant, I imagine it's quite high. But again, 100 is quite a lot of people. So I imagine the police were probably the first couple of calls. They were probably just like whatever, like stupid teenagers. You and your lover's lane. You're gonna claim to see stuff, whatever. But then as the calls like keep pouring in and people keep showing up at the station, after a while you're just kind of like, you know what? Maybe we should just like set up, I don't know, a Mothman hotline. Like, how did that work? Like they had like one phone for like crimes to call in, and then they had a separate phone for like Mothman calls. Like they must have done that. I'm convinced. I might look that up. Like you can't tell me that they weren't gonna, like, oh, you're on the wrong phone. You wanted the Mothman hotline? Oh, that's this number. So yeah, at least 100 people. And then it also stated that some people it's more than likely more people. It's just other people were likely too afraid to come forward. I don't know why. Why? Because you think you might be laughed at? Like, there's already 100 people before you who already look like idiots. Like, uh, well, not idiots, but like, if you're afraid of looking embarrassed, I'm stating. Um, could most likely be barn owls. Like, this is like the number one. If you ask a total person who's totally against Mothman, they'll pretty much just wrap it up to like it's a barn owl. Which if you've ever seen a barn owl at night, kind of sort of looks like Mothman. You don't really, obviously, you don't see it, but you see something perched up. You don't, well, no, you don't see anything, right? All you see is its eyes. Do barn owls have glowing red eyes? I would imagine not. I've never seen a barn owl, but I've seen pictures, obviously. And if it's perched up on a tree and it's glaring at you, it kind of looks like it might be a figure because the owl's perched. Here's like, okay, we're gonna do a little demonstration. Here's the tree branch. Here's the owl. But then you see like the whole tree. So from a distance, if you're looking at that, it probably looks like a figure. But what about the 10-foot wings? I don't know. People kind of see what they want to see when they're scaring themselves. But to go further with the barn owl idea, um, in an episode of Project Blue Book, History Channel show that is about aliens and UFOs, there was one of the cases that they actually looked into, and they pretty much scrapped it up to being a barn owl. So a barn owl gets mistaken for creatures quite often. So that might hold some weight there. Scientists claim Mothman was an alien or supernatural manifestation. When I say scientists, I mean like the people like UFO scientists and stuff, not like not like real scientists. So Mothman was an alien or supernatural manifestation. I'm gonna say no to it. Like I don't know. Again, I'm not doing my usual setup here. I'm not. I'm just reading these, and I'm just gonna give you my intake, give you my thoughts, my feedback. I don't think Mothman was an alien. If you've ever seen the movie The Mothman Prophecies with Richard Gere from 2002, it kind of makes it sound like Mothman's an interracial, like excuse me, intergalactic alien. Like they definitely pull it. They make it seem like that. I don't know if that's really the case here. I'm gonna go more of saying he's a supernatural manifestation. Like in other words, like people back in the day were so hysterical that they saw something, they didn't know what to make of it, and their minds conjured it to be a supernatural manifestation of this giant Mothman. That just makes a lot more sense to me than saying like an alien just randomly decides to pop up in 1966 in a small town of West Virginia called Point Pleasant. Then again, that doesn't really explain 1947 in Roswell, New Mexico, does it? Suppose not. Residents claim to see UFOs, men in black, other strange things. So again, if you've ever seen the Mothman Prophecies movie, there's like one of the guys in town, he ends up actually getting like possessed, and he claims that the Mothman has a name. I forgot the name of the guy, but he claims that Mothman has a name, and this guy comes and visits him. I believe he also claims that Men in Black visited him. But apparently, like in real life, people actually, like residents in Point Pleasant, really claimed to see UFOs, Men in Black, and other strange things while this actually took place. So again, it's all happening at once, but like what's really the deal here? What's really like causing all of this? In 2002, Point Pleasant had held its first Mothman Festival as a way for people to celebrate its local legacy in town. So if you've ever seen if you've ever seen a show, there's different documentaries and shows on Travel Channel, History Channel, all that jazz. They actually show you the statue. I'm sure you've seen the statue of Mothman. That's pretty cool. Um, but they actually held the first Mothman Festival. And what year was that? 2002. What year did I see the Mothman Prophecies came out? Oh, that's right, 2002. That's not a coincidence, is it? Like, so I think the Mothman Festival is cool, but then I kind of start thinking about it. The one thing here I think to take from this, oh, I'm going to go over 15 minutes. This is supposed to be a special, but I'm rambling, but I don't care. I'm going to get this Mothman news out there. All right. Um, so Point Pleasant held its first Mothman Festival as a way for people to celebrate the town's local legacy. The one thing that nobody ever talks about is the fact that from 1966 to 1967, Mothman has its most reports ever. But do you ever like you hear about Mothman now, but from '67 onward, it's not. It's like it was like a one. It was like a 1 year incident. Mothman's like a one-hit wonder that has transcended decades. Look at that. I just kind of made that up right off the top of my head. Mothman could be the greatest one-hit wonder we've ever seen or known. But also, I think this. I think the people of Point Pleasant are banking off their own myth. I think whether or not Mothman ever existed is irrelevant at this point because it's now 2021 and they're still holding Mothman festivals. And it's a way for people, for tourists, to come into Point Pleasant. Here's what I think. In 2002, the residents, however many there are, it seems like a really small town, but I imagine it's quite popular. All the residents thought to themselves, they had a town meeting, and they're like, you know what? This place is boring. How can we get tourist attraction to come more? How can we get tourists to come here? Hey, didn't we have that Mothman incident? Hey, yeah, I remember Mothman. Yeah, we still talk about Mothman, but hey, that's how we can get people to come here. We'll have a Mothman festival. I think Point Pleasant is banking off their own like folklore. Like, do I think Mothman exists? I don't really know. I can't definitively say one way or the other. Some evidence points to yes, but at the same time, some evidence makes me scratch my head and say, I really don't know. But one thing I do believe is that Point Pleasant is just, they're like, it's like a total smokescreen, like at this point. They believe their folklore so much that they want us to believe too. Here's this last bit of news I found, and this one's a mic drop. Like in two, in June 2020, a petition was started to replace all Confederate statues in the United States with statues of Mothman. But wait, there's more. As of this month, as of March 2021, over 20,000 signatures have been signed. I don't even I don't even know where to begin with that last one. Wherever you might stand on the Confederate statues is one thing, okay? Whether you want them gone or you want them to stay. But to replace them with statues of Mothman is 20,000 signatures. People want this to happen. People want this to happen as much as they want statues of Dolly Parton in Tennessee to replace Confederate statues there. Like, would you rather have a Dolly Parton statue to replace a Confederate statue or Mothman? I'd probably go with Dolly Parton just because, like, Mothman is like why? Why would you want that? Like, that's so weird. Like, you would replace history, regardless. Again, I don't care if you, it's irrelevant whether or not you want the Confederate statues gone. But technically, you'd be replacing history with something that may or may not exist, a folklore. That just seems nuts to me. All right, I'll probably go to 20 minutes here. So let me just do a final conclusion, a final rundown. Um, it was made into a book in 1975, The Mothman Prophecies, in a movie in 2002. Never read the book. I've seen the movie a few times. I suggest watching the movie. I also suggest reading the book, even though I've never read it myself. I actually might read it just for the heck of it, and what the heck's going on here? I'm gonna give you more insight. Named after the Batman villain Killer Moth. That's just a really fun fact. The Silver Bridge collapsing. Okay, do I think Mothman's connected to the bridge? People of Point Pleasant certainly think so. I suppose if I lived there, I'd have different thoughts. Um, I think he does probably have a connection. Whether or not he caused, like, if Mothman exists, then he more than likely caused the collapse. If Mothman doesn't exist, I still think maybe he's in some way people want to believe that he caused the collapse. Mothman sightings in Moscow. I mean, that foreshadowed the 1999 apartment bombings. Like, I don't know about that one. I want to know, like, who are these sources, and how is it that people from Russia know about Mothman? Like, how is that? No, I don't believe that happened. Like, anybody, if by that account, anybody could see Mothman. Between 1966 and 1967, at least 100 people. Again, that's a lot of people. Scientists claim Mothman was an alien or supernatural manifestation. Like I said, my thoughts, I'm leaning more towards supernatural manifestation than alien. In 2002, Point Pleasant held its first Mothman Festival. Not sure what that consists of. I actually know one person that attended that, so I might have to hit him up and ask him how that went. Would I ever go to a Mothman Festival? Sure, why the hell not? But I mean, West Virginia is not in my top 10 places in the United States to visit. If you live in West Virginia and you're watching this, I mean no offense. Um, and in 2020, a petition was started. I'm just give you this my closing thoughts on Mothman. I'm not sure if he exists. I'm not sure if he existed. But the one thing that kind of always baffles me ever since I heard about this was, why don't people like, are we still getting reports on Mothman to this day? Because I feel like we're not. And if we are, they're just going unnoticed, because back in the 60s, this was some serious stuff. But now it's just like, meh, it's just like the aliens. It's just like Bigfoot. It's just like the vampire sightings. It's just like, it's just like another thing that you can chalk up to like weird. You can't understand, but meh, we accept it. What are your thoughts on Mothman? You would already know the deal. I always ask for feedback. So, if you have any thoughts on whether or not you think Mothman is real, or maybe you just want to give me your thoughts in general, I'm always glad to hear it. This has been my latest Mystery Unsolved episode on the Mothman. Stay tuned next Friday right here at 7, as I will be doing another special. Now, the funny thing is, actually, no, scratch that. It will not be another special. But I did drop a hint earlier in the video on what it will be about, so I might as well just spoil it. What the hell? It's going to be on the Roswell incident. One crazy incident in one city to another, right? And by the Roswell incident, I mean the incident that occurred in 1947, the one I referred to earlier. So, yeah, this has been Mystery Unsolved with Justin Bienvenue on the Mothman. Until next time.